So Claudia, why did you write this book? Tell us why you wrote this book.
Okay. So we have to start a little bit before. I was living a very different life from the life that I'm living now. And my life was beautiful. Very interesting in the fashion business. I guess I was very spoiled and used to be in a certain way and believe certain things. You know, had my conditioning and all of that. But I would say it was, you know, a very glamorous life. Till one day, I had a huge spiritual awakening. And when I say huge, it was really huge. It was unexpected. And this spiritual awakening was almost violent, because all of a sudden, all the veils were lifted. And I could see through dimensions, and see all these amazing beings of light, and see all my past life, and being hit right, left, and center by all this stuff. Some days thinking I was going crazy, actually. Till finally, this wonderful woman that then became my teacher, Sriama Kuala Phoenix, the founder of the Divine University, told me exactly what was going on. So I know there are many people awakening in the world right now, and it can be a very difficult thing. So one of the reasons why I was told to write this book, so this book was never my own idea, by the way. It's like my awakening was never my own idea either. Everything happened to me. And so this book was also wrote for many, many different reasons. And one of the reasons is also maybe to help all the ones who are awakening now and they don't know what has hit them, basically. I did not understand in the very beginning. I thought I was Alice in Wonderland, quite frankly, you know, having these incredible trips without even taking any drug. And so it was quite extraordinary to be able to soul travel everywhere and meeting these extraordinary beings, travel on different dimensions, and see how much beauty there is on the other side. But frankly, I had no idea that this was given to me so that I could do something really good and profound with it, like helping other people. So that didn't occur to me for quite a long time, actually. Because before I had an awakening of the light, what you call an awakening of the light, which is the seership and see through the dimensions and all of that. And only later I had an awakening of the heart, which is a very different thing. And basically you can't really shift completely your consciousness if you don't learn how to open your heart. And so this little book of mine, it's also a journey of closing my heart in the very beginning of my life. You know, after I was a child, I started to close my heart. And then I had all this other journey to reopen my heart. And that is also one of the fundamental reason why I also wrote this book. It is a journey of the heart. Now, it happens to all of us as children, we arrive here in this new incarnation with a very open and pure heart. All of us. Doesn't matter who we are, where we're coming from which country we are coming from, which religion. It doesn't matter. We're all coming as these wonderful, pure children with a beautiful, beautiful, bright heart. And then life starts to teach us, for example, lessons of the karma. So that's another very important point in the book. I had a lot of karma personally, and it hit me when I was very young. And when this karma hit me, and obviously I wasn't conscious that this was my karma and I had to learn all these lessons, my heart started to close down. And my ego started to rise, because our ego is our protector, really. So we cannot get rid of our ego because it's one of our streams of consciousness. But we can learn to love our ego so that the ego can feel in no need of protecting us, basically. And that you can only do if you open your heart again. So when I was asked by the family of light, by the enlightened masters who are my teachers in Body of Light, to write this book, basically they wanted to use me as a guinea pig to show everyone how we go on this huge journey here of closing our heart as well. And through closing our heart, then we start to get all the conditioning, all the blockages, all the fears and all of that. So basically, I constructed all of this, and then I had to deconstruct myself. And then through the spiritual awakening, I started a journey of deconstruction of everything that really did not belong to me. Because we are picking up all of this stuff, like all of our fears, conditioning, blockages, limitation. We're picking up all those things because of the karma that we have. And once you become conscious of this, of what your karma is, then you can heal it. And that's what I've done for the past 10 years. I've been healing my karma, and it's not been an easy journey, but now I am so grateful that I don't experience fear anymore, for example.
I think what would be really interesting is for you to talk a little bit more about how we release in meditation. You talk about the closed heart, you talk about the open heart.
Yeah.
I now understand open-heartedness from having worked with you for over a year. But perhaps for some of the people that don't, that haven't worked with you, talk a little bit about how we can all
in the practical way.
Yeah, in a practical way, how we can be
okay.
more open-hearted, and how we can release that stuck energy or that karmic energy within us,
so
that negativity. Talk us through that.
We're not in a meditative state, but what I can tell you is that I was lucky enough to study through the Divine University. And the Divine University is offering everybody a very particular kind of new education. I say new education, but it is ancient wisdom, really. I call it new education because it's been coming back to earth more recently. And what I had learned there, it's the most incredible things. Light, so consciousness, is like a science. There is a science of light. And, for example, I'm sure all of you has heard about chakras, yeah? So chakras are an element of our energy body. We all have a physical body and we all have an energy body. But they're not the only element. There are all these different elements. And when you learn about these elements, other elements called the crystal core, called the eternal flame that we all have in our heart, called all the portal were around us, and of course, the chakras and all of that, you can start to alchemize your old consciousness with the new pure consciousness that each one of us has stored in what we call the higher self. Are you following me? Okay. So we all have an higher self, and we all have higher consciousness, and we all can have access to our higher consciousness. All what we need is to know how to do it. And I have been learning this, how to do it. And not only that, but the family of light, which I'm working with, and each one of you, knowing or unknowing, has guides, spiritual guides. So I'm not really unique. We're all equal. That's what you have to understand. We're really all equal. And we all have equal access to our superconsciousness if you are ready for it, because you have to apply yourself to it. Unfortunately, we have to give it a bit of work as well. The enlightened masters always tell me they do 85% of the work for me, and I'm only doing 15%. And and I think they're right, but I do that 15%. So there are techniques. There are techniques that we can all learn, and I call them learning to switch on the light within us, because we all have so much light within us. So once you learn this technique and you're starting to switch on your own light regularly, that is when the alchemization of the superconsciousness with our own consciousness starts. And things will shape-shift within you. That's why I call my book The Shapeshifter. It's not because I can become an animal all of a sudden, but it's a shape-shifting of consciousness. And you do it with the light, and you do it with the love. So you've got to also open your heart, because we all have this wonderful flame. So basically, what we are learning is that we are very powerful beings. We're very powerful. But we forgot about it. We come here in this reincarnation, and we forget about how powerful we are, and that everything is within us.
There's so much conflict in the world. How would you suggest that people can help that? How would you tell people how to help that within themselves and externally?
Well,
because the conflict is internal and external. I mean, we all understand that. We all have our internal conflict. Okay, so we also have external conflict.
Basically, we have external conflicts because we have a lot of internal conflicts. So what we must realize is that one of the most important things that you learn when you go on a spiritual journey, you have to take your own responsibility. You've got to become responsible for your energy, for your karma, and this is fundamentally what is wrong with the world. We're all blaming each other. Oh, he's done that, there is no forgiveness. So there is no understanding of how things really work at the spiritual level. But when you are starting to take responsibility for your own energy, and you are developing from within out, because there is no point in running around and believe that everything we need is in the outside of us. That's not how it is. Everything is within. So we start to develop our own light, our own love, and we're starting to take responsibility and not blaming all others anymore. But it's hard to do, really and truly, if you don't have a minimum of understanding of spirituality. it's not easy to do, you know. Once I understood all of that, then I started to work on my karma, and I started to heal so much stuff. One of the things I'm the most proud of, I had a terrible karma with my father for many, many, many years. And I finally healed it, and he died last year, and my work with him was done. I balanced my karma with him. And so when he left, when he departed, I was so peaceful because it was done, the work was done, there was nothing to forgive, no, you know, I loved him, and I understood completely what was the dynamics between us, because really the spiritual awakening, it's about two things. It's about our consciousness, and to understand all the mechanism of our own consciousness and how this creates the trouble within us, and how we can heal that. So spirituality really is about consciousness, and is about having an open heart. These are the two important keys. And obviously we're all divine, so we all have the God within us as well. And everybody's divine, and that is a lesson I'm still learning every day, to see the divinity in every single person. You know, it's not easy sometimes, but I'm working on it.
So how would you help somebody who wants to get on the spiritual path but doesn't know how to start? I mean, a lot of people in the room, I know quite a few of you, and we've been on a journey together with Claudia, but how would you help somebody to get onto a spiritual path who doesn't know how to do it?
I can only teach what I learn myself. There are so many ways in which one can go if they want to, you know, attain enlightenment or spiritual knowledge. But, you know, I studied in one way, which is with the Divine University, and I explain quite a bit in my book, you know, about that. And so obviously I am suggesting everybody to study the way that I did, if your soul is called to it, because that is the other thing. There are so many incredible streams of consciousness, and your soul, all of your souls will resonate with one of them. So you can never oblige anyone or pretend, you know, my way is the best way, because it's not the best way. It's just the way where I felt my soul resonance. The first time I met my teacher, and I never been to a spiritual workshop in my life before. I mean, you know, I was just dragged there by a friend, basically. So I was like rolling my eyes up and all of that. But as soon as she spoke, I felt the truth of those words in my heart. I knew that what she was saying was true. So my soul felt a resonance, yeah. And then I was lucky, you know, I met her, she was amazing, and then I studied in that way, which is a way that brings you an acceleration of consciousness, because it's all based on frequencies. So even when I speak now, I'm giving you all frequencies of light, you know, they're going everywhere, frequencies of light. And the teachings is really based on the frequencies of light. So of course there are the words, because our mind needs to hear the words as well. But the truth is that it is the frequencies of consciousness that are working on you, helping the alchemical change, because it's like an alchemy. You know, it's when they were trying to find the gold. You know, there are so many stories, the gold, the alchemist, the gold, but the gold is this, you know, we've got it inside of us.
Well, the energy is everywhere. I mean, I can really feel the, I mean, I don't know if anybody else can, but I can really feel the energy, because every time Claudia, you know, brings in the masters, there's always an incredible energy. It almost crackles in the room. And it's a very benevolent, incredibly loving,
and they love us.
beautiful energy, which, you know, I mean, you've talked about so much about how we all have this inside of us. And I think the summation really, I think, is really the open-heartedness is key to everything.
Absolutely.
And breathing. I mean, really breathing it out. You know, when you've got that level of stress, you taught me that so well.
Well, it's just awakening is to remember. So you
Yeah.
remember the truth about yourself. That's what it is. It's very simple, really. You know, it is not simple to go on the journey, but what happened to me and what happened to everybody that goes on that journey, I know so many people that go on that journey, it's pure magic. It's hard to describe, really, but it is pure magic, and you can all do it. If you don't do it already, you can all go on this magical journey and discover the absolute truth of who you are. And believe me, you are not who you think you are. You're so much bigger and so much better and so much more. And you can bring all of that back and be the creator of your reality, which is something else I'm big on, is to become the creator of your reality. You can create your own reality. You are not a victim. Believe me. You really go beyond any feelings and any thoughts. That's where your consciousness is, beyond feelings and thoughts.
There's no purpose to emotion, there's no reason. We feel like so many.
There is a purpose for everything. This is a training camp for souls. That's what this reality is. So we come here to, you know, to train. We come here for evolution. So, of course, we got all the thoughts and the feelings, but it's not necessarily the ultimate truth of your consciousness. You have to go beyond that. And usually feelings and thoughts are coming from your personality. But when you're growing yourself spiritually, there is no more the personality. The personality slowly, and you becoming more and more consciousness. So you're learning not to take things personally anymore. You know how we take so much personally, but that's changes, because you learn to see everything also with the eyes of love and forgiveness. And in that, there is not the personality, because you see, you look at everybody with love and no judgment, which is another of the biggest things to learn when you go on the spiritual path, is not to judge. Something I'm learning every day as well. You can't run away from the pain, you can dissolve it.
In my experience, when you run away from the pain, it gets bigger, and you have to look at it faster anyway.
In my experience, I dissolved an awful lot of pain with the light and the love. That's how my pain dissolved.
Was there a time you ran away from it?
No, I couldn't. I had to face it all. Like one of the deepest things when you go on the spiritual path is that you have to be so honest with yourself. You can't escape from anything. So, but you face it with love, without judgment. So you become your own loving observer, basically. It's almost like you are here and you look at yourself down there with love and with patience. We need patience with ourselves. Patience is very important. Yeah, I don't know. I still, if I look back, I don't know how I did it, but somehow I did it. I had that courage because probably I touched rock bottom in so many things in my life, and the only way was up, believe me. And I just trusted, and I started to open my heart a little bit, and have faith. Faith is important. You might need to digest all of these. Fears are illusions, really, So we can have the biggest fears, but they do not really exist. They exist in our mind. And we can feed them. So we can feed our fears by giving fears energy. We give away our power. We give our power away to the fear. It's energy. Everything is energy, no? So you have to learn to starve your fear and to have the courage to face it with love. So don't put yourself under any pressure. Have compassion of yourself. So many of us don't have enough compassion, firstly with ourselves. Karma with men, I can't start to tell you, and I'm still. So you see, if you wish to read the book, it's all about these men and my karma with them in the beginning, and all what I wanted was to find love, like this idea of romantic love, and it would never happen because I had all this karma with men, and I'm still healing it. I am not in any relationship at the moment. I'm still healing that karma. Must have been very big. Yeah. But relationship, intimate relationship are given to us for the purpose of learning. So every single of these men that I had was in fact my teacher. It's just that at the time, in retrospective, I was not understanding about the lessons. And I was blaming them for everything while I was these perfect angels, But it's not like that. So relationships are a way for us to grow with someone. Yeah, I went through all of that. I mean, I became an hermit from being this fashion being that was going to every single party that there was. I disappeared, because also when you are starting to transform, which I think you are, you're going through a process of awakening right now. I can see that. So you become also so sensitive, even more and more sensitive. Now, what you have to understand is that it's not your parents' fault or your other people's fault if they don't understand what you're going through, because maybe this is not their lifetime to go through that. So this is something I learned later. If you are spiritually awakened, it's not that you are better than anyone else. It's not like that at all. It's just this is your time to go through this experience. But you can't judge anyone else that is not. You have to hold the compassion. If you have more consciousness, you always have to hold the compassions for the one who have less consciousness. So don't judge yourself and don't judge them. All that you can do is to be patient and to send them love and to understand, don't take it personally. Don't take it personally again, because you're coming out of that personality things. So, you have to hold this compassion and you have to hold this patience. And again, you can move that energy. It will take a little bit of time because nothing, can be done like that. But have the faith and know if you keep your heart open, they will then be responsive in their own way. Because you can never expect from another person exactly what you want from them. It doesn't work like that.